I would think about like some of the times you maybe were feeling lonely or feeling down and you had a dinner date with a friend and it just changed everything, and being in that space with them, and again, like same space, same energy, and what it just did for your mood. And I think it's really important to think about the people in our life that might be lonely and to be reaching out to them and to stay connected to your friends.
If you guys are like me and wanting to be more mindful about what's in your products, how many toxins are in your products, and making sure that you're putting good things on your skin and into your body, I highly recommend Osea. I did a total revamp on all my products, and this is one I have been using and now is a staple in my bathroom. I particularly love their Ocean Eyes Age Defining Serum. I feel like I don't have bags under my eyes anymore, and I just feel really good putting this on my skin, knowing something good is going on my skin and into my body. So if you want to check out Osea's products, use our code QTCPOD10 to get 10% off your first purchase.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Quiet the Clock podcast. Today I will be doing a solo episode, and it is so exciting because I believe by the time this comes out, this will mark our 100th episode of Quiet the Clock, which I can't even believe. My executive producer, Shelly, shared that with me, and I didn't even realize that that's how many episodes we've done already. And it's just amazing to me. It's amazing to see how this has grown. It's amazing to see how this community has grown. I think about 100 episodes and I think about how much work we have put into this, how much passion goes into this. All the guests that I've had on, all the connections that I've made. It's truly been incredible. And I really do believe it's just the start. I really feel like there's so much more to come for this podcast, for this community. And I'm just so grateful to be doing this. For those of you who've been listening from the beginning, kind of know the story, the origin story of Quiet the Clock, and know that I never thought that this would be a podcast. I just was hearing all these conversations, particularly from women, about societal timelines and pressure and expectations and milestones. And I wanted to bring them to the forefront because I was seeing it personally. I was living it personally. I was seeing it professionally. And it really was never meant to be a podcast. I just knew it had to be something. I knew there needed to be something where we were facilitating more conversations like this. But here we are 100 episodes later, almost 2 years later. And it's been so incredible. And I'm so grateful. And I love when I get the DMs or the messages saying, you know, how much the podcast has helped them and how listening to them has been so helpful. And that's, you know, the whole intention and point of doing this podcast is to help other people feeling the timeline pressure, feeling like they're behind, feeling like they're running out of time. And I'm just so grateful for everybody that's here and everybody that is listening. So thank you. So 100 down, many more hundreds to go, hopefully. And again, I always mention this on the solos. If there's more things you want to hear, more topics you want us talking about, if you like these solo episodes, let us know. I'm gonna give a little personal update of where I am, and it's sort of driving some of the guests I'm asking to come on because they're topics that are coming up for me and topics that I'm really interested in and topics that I really want to share with everybody else because, you know, some of the ways I found myself learning about these things were through loss and heartache and my secondary infertility journey. So I'm going to be sharing all of that here. I'm going to be sharing way more of my journey. It's difficult for me to share in real time because it's just it's so sad and it's so heavy. And I'm also trying to like navigate and figure out next steps. And I'm always in admiration of the women that share their fertility journeys in real time. I think that's extremely brave. It's just not something I'm able to do while I'm still in the thick of it. And I know they're still in the thick of it too. So that's why I give them so much credit for being so vulnerable and so open in the moment. But just to share kind of a life update. So February 3rd, I found out I had my third failed embryo transfer. It was a tested embryo. that didn't implant. That was the second time an embryo didn't implant. And it was a very, very disappointing, very devastating, because I just felt like I had done all the things. I was healing a lot of things. I was treating my thyroid. I finally found like the right functional medicine doctor to be helping me with that. Diet was good. Supplements were like, off the charts. There's lots of supplements. And, kind of this transfer aligned almost a year to the date of our very last transfer. So our last transfer was January 2024. We did this also January 2024 and we didn't, so in between we were trying IUIs and trying naturally. So this had been our first transfer in a year, and it didn't take. And that was really devastating. And it really put me in this place of like, I'm starting from ground zero. I'm starting all over. So that's taken up a lot of time to kind of find new doctors, do new consultations, come up with a new strategy. And again, like I'll share more about that on future episodes. But my God, it takes up so much time to just make these phone calls, tons and tons of blood work, calling the insurance, all of the things. Like it's just been a lot. So February was a lot of that. Unfortunately, a week after finding out that the transfer didn't work, I was in a really bad car accident. This woman, like literally blocks from my house, blew a stop sign and just nailed me. Very grateful my son was not in the car. I wasn't too badly hurt. My legs were pretty banged up and bruised. But it's also another logistical nightmare that has taken up my February. So most of my February has been dealing with insurance companies, whether that's car insurance or health insurance, phone calls. It's just been a lot, and the car accident, it's just like when your capacity is so limited, to throw another big thing like that on top of it, it's been really emotionally distressing. I've been without my car. It was a brand new car. So that was a lot of February. So life is lifing. 2025 is not looking that much different. I would say maybe even worse than 2024. But we're moving into March with some hope, some optimism. I feel really good kind of where the fertility plan is. And just to kind of briefly share that is of a new doctor that's going to do a hysteroscopy, an ERA, which kind of tests like the receptivity of like kind of where you're most receptive to receive the embryo. I'm doing all this immunological blood work. So we have a good plan, and that feels really good. And I am switching doctors. My doctor is not kind of someone that thinks outside the box in the way that this doctor is. So that feels really good moving into March, kind of starting off on with those things. Yeah, what else? Those are the major life updates. But like life is lifing. I can't even tell you how much time that takes up. And I don't know if anyone else is feeling this way. Time is happening and moving so quickly. I can't believe it's March. I feel like my days fly and nothing gets done. Time anxiety, it's called quiet the clock, right? So time anxiety is so real on so many levels, even this like micro level of just your day. But yeah, those are the life updates. Some of the things I want to talk about today are things that are coming up kind of in conversation with recent guests, with friends. One thing that it's been really big on my heart and in my mind is, and this might sound really silly, but how we respond when someone asks, "How are you?" And I had a really great friend of mine who's also been having a really hard time. She lost her mother recently, and we both kind of are always checking in with each other. And it's really this amazing friendship where, we give each other the space, we understand the space, but we know we're always there for each other. And she sent me this text the other day, and it was like, and it said, she's like, "I'm not going to ask you how you're doing." Because I know that question, like, I forget how she worded it, but it was almost this like respectful of like, that question isn't even significant enough, or you can't even really answer that question authentically. And I've been thinking a lot about how it's like this societal like norm to be like, "How are you?" "I'm good. I'm fine." That's like usually the normal responses. That's usually my normal responses. And I started to really think about that And I'm like, I'm not good. Like, I'm not fine. Like, I'm far from it. I remember particularly in February, multiple times turning to my partner and being like, I am not well. Like, I am not doing well at all. And I thought about like this disconnect between like answering that question with good and fine versus like what we're actually feeling. And then what happens internally, or what do we internalize when we answer so inauthentically? I feel like there's real disconnect from self. I feel like there's almost this abandonment of self and, lack of vulnerability and lack of true expression. Because if someone were to ask me that and get a real answer, it'd be like, I'm not good. I'm not great. And I've actually started to try to answer more authentically. But I also think there's this discomfort that happens when you do answer more authentically, like almost the asker of the question isn't expecting to get a really honest answer. But I would love to like talk about that more and normalize answering more honestly. Like, how are you actually doing? So if I'm to answer that question honestly, I'm not great. I am not great. And I was messaging with a former guest who is so great. I love her. And she's like, man, you wouldn't be able to tell, like, it looks like you're thriving. And yeah, I mean, I'm getting up and I'm going, but if I'm really honest, like things have been really difficult. This fertility journey takes a lot out of you. There's changes and transitions happening in my business. I have a toddler. I had a bad car accident. So yeah, I guess I'm sharing that to kind of prompt everybody else to think about that exchange and kind of how, I don't know, shallow the exchange can be, or inauthentic that exchange could be, and what would it look like if we were more honest. And sometimes I think it's about being more honest with ourselves and how we're actually doing. I'm certainly someone that can kind of push through or mask what's really happening. And I've had to start to be really honest with myself about like how I'm actually doing. And until I was more honest with myself about how I was actually doing, I wasn't able to think about what I need. Because if you're telling yourself you're fine, or is this like narrative or expectation of like, I can push through, or, I'm super resilient, I think we're not taking care of ourselves in the best way possible. So once I started to acknowledge that I'm really not well, it allowed me to ask for more help, which is extremely difficult for me. And I'm sure for many people listening, especially our highly ambitious type A, super independent women, we get that. We understand that. I had an amazing guest on sharing with me about the power of receiving and little things like letting somebody hold the door for you, or letting somebody like, I don't know, grab you a coffee, any little thing, just kind of this idea of being an act of receiving. And that really resonated with me. And it really brought more awareness to how little I am in kind of the space of receiving, even little things with my partner. I'm like hyper independent. And when she was sharing this with me, I gave her this silly example. I forget what it was. There was two with Rob recently where I had to stop myself. Oh, there was one morning I was like playing with our son and Rob was making coffee. He's like, he's like, let me make your coffee. And I'm like, no, I'll get it. And then I was like, no. And then I said no first. And then I stopped myself and I said, yeah, okay, that would be great. There were a couple other things. Oh, this was the one I was telling her. Okay, so my son, February, here was also February, was my son was off for school for an entire week. So son off from school, boy toddler, massive amount of energy, stopped napping, mom with very limited capacity. It was very difficult. And our babysitter went back to school. So imagine all of those things for all the moms out there. And we get back from break. It's the Monday after break. And I walk in his classroom. I see so at his school, every week another parent is assigned like to be the snack mom. I call it the snack bitch. And I see the sign and it's my name. And I was just like in tears because I completely forgot. You guys, this is happening to me so much. And this is how I know I'm just like not great, or capacity is limited. I'm dropping so many balls that I never used to drop. And maybe that's the universe's sign to tell me to slow down. But Yeah, so I get into the classroom. I'm like, oh my God, I'm snack mom. So I'm snack mom for the whole class, which means I forgot the snacks. There's no snacks for the kids. And so one of the other teachers was really lovely. And I had such a packed day Monday. There was like no way for me to like go buy the snacks, bring them back to the school. It was just not possible. My day was so packed. I was like, I don't even know how to get to a store to get them here for Tuesday. Then obviously I'm like, okay, I can, order delivery, whatever. And so I text Rob that I had forgotten. He's like, okay, just send me a list. Like, I'll go get it. And I was just, no, I can probably figure out how to run out later. Like, already in my mind, I'm trying to figure out how to do it myself when he's already offered. And I'm like, no, Beth, stop. Like, and I did. I just sent him the list and it made my life so much easier. So that's something, I guess that's an update. That's something I'm really working on, is being in a place of receiving and asking for more help. Which sounds very simple, but it's definitely not if you've kind of grown up in a way where you've done everything yourself and kind of developed this hyper independence, which can also be a trauma response, which we can talk about another time. So yeah, those things have been really on my mind. We had an amazing guest on. I can't wait for his episode to go live. We had a dating coach on, which was a male dating coach, which was so incredible to kind of get that inside lens to how men think, to how men approach dating. And it really got me thinking about a couple things. It got me thinking about sort of the art of flirting. And I was having a conversation with him, and I was having that previously with other younger team members of mine, that I just feel like the art of flirting is lost. I do think there's a lot of reasons as to why that is lost. I think social media and dating apps has disconnected us in a way that is not great. So if you don't use the skill of flirting, it's going to die. And I think right now it's really dead. I remember being young, out in the city, single. Like my flirting game was on. I'm going to brag a little bit. I was a good flirter, and it just facilitated a lot of fun interactions, even if it didn't go anywhere. So having that conversation with him and talking to some of my younger team members who are still out in the dating world, I think everybody should flirt a little bit more. If I was to give dating advice to anyone in their 20s or 30s right now, is one, to have fun with it, and two, to just kind of flirt a little bit more, kind of scan the room, smile at somebody. I always remember we would always like loop the bar. I don't know if people are doing that, but you got to like loop the bar or the club or see who's in there. But I really feel like the art of flirting is gone. And also, obviously, like, technology has created that. Also, the pandemic definitely has created that. I even find myself sort of still regaining social skills, because even though we're out of COVID now, a lot of people are still working remotely, myself included. And again, it's a skill. If we're not using it, we lose it. It's like a language. If you're learning a second language and you're not using it, we're going to lose it. So I've been thinking a lot too about this year in terms of just not even in the realm of dating, but just socialization and connection. And something I did recently was join a new gym, and just to be around people, the energy of being in a class or just people like working out has been so, so incredible. And, I know we're still in winter and hopefully we're coming out of that. And that also makes it difficult to get out and socialize. I'm going on so many tangents here, but hopefully everybody's following. Yeah, I just think we need to be around more people. I think we need to be in more settings where there's energy, where there's opportunities to engage, opportunities to have a conversation, just to like meet somebody new. And again, it doesn't have to be specific to dating, but I kind of started with this idea that I think flirting is dead. But, I guess if we're looking more bigger picture, I think social interaction is struggling. Small conversation, engagement is struggling. So if that's something you struggle with too, I'm happy to do a whole episode on that, because I think a lot of people are struggling with that, even in this post-COVID world. And I think it's a shame, because it really can be so exciting and fun to meet new people, to have an interesting exchange. I had the best moment this morning, actually. So I had to get more blood work, 6:20 in the morning. I was in Stamford, Connecticut to do more blood work. which was horrible because I hate blood work. And this woman, like, there was so much blood she had to draw that like one arm started like running out of blood. I don't know. It's the blood stopped coming out. So she had to prick me twice. Awful. The other thing I have to do right after this is go to the dentist. Another thing that I hate. But I just had the most lovely exchange with this lady at 6:20 in the morning in the waiting room. And she started telling me this whole story about she has 3 biological children. She has 4 adoptive children. She told me this whole story about making them breakfast one morning. And I'm just like, wow, like I really appreciated that. That like meant a lot for my day. And it was such a beautiful way to start my day. And I'm just like, just an exchange between 2 strangers was just so meaningful. So I really think the focus for 2025 for me, and I'm encouraging other people, is just to get ourselves in places or be open to kind of have those exchanges, meet those people. And if we're speaking specifically to dating, I say approach it like make sure you're open, make sure you're inviting in a way that's like approachable. Kind of check in on yourself with your flirting game. Like, where are you at with your flirting game? I think there's so much value to flirting. And I would also ask yourselves, like, how much fun am I having with this? And I know it can be so difficult when we are feeling the pressures of the timelines to have fun with dating. I hear that wholeheartedly. I was there. I put a lot of pressure on dating and potential, and this date went great, but I didn't hear from this guy. Oh, by the way, you guys, I did a whole solo episode on my whole dating history, only to find out there was no volume on it. So I have to redo that episode for you guys because I think it was pretty good and I have some interesting stories. But now I lost my train of thought. Dating. What the heck was I just saying? I just completely lost my train of thought thinking about my dating stories. Dating, having fun with it and sort of the difficulty in having fun with it if we're feeling this pressure of time. I know personally in my life, the second I took the pressure off of dating is when I had more fun with it. I literally met Rob like a month later. And because I took the pressure off it, I was able to show up in my dating experience with Rob way more authentically. And so that's something I would suggest to anyone, 20s, 30s, 40s. How much pressure are you putting on the situation? How much stress is it causing you? And how can we remove some of that pressure and stress? How can you approach dating in a way that, it's fun? I love the word curious. Like, how can you approach it in ways like, I just want to be curious about this person. I want to get to know who this person is. This is kind of interesting to learn something new or learn something new about somebody. And I think if we can switch, or I know that once we can switch our perspective and how we're approaching dating or even anything, right? A lot of what we talk about on this podcast is the impacts of pressure and what that does to us. And what would it look like if we took that pressure off? And I have shared this before previously on the podcast. Someone prompted me that question, like, how did the 2 best things in your life come to you? And it literally was when I took the pressures off everything. When I met Rob, there was really sort of this acceptance and, that I'm going to have a happy life no matter what. And so there wasn't that much pressure on dating or finding a partner or finding a future husband, father, whoever. And then my son, for Rob and I, there were hard conversations for multiple years. And finally, when we're both like, all right, let's just see what happens. I was pregnant literally weeks later. So I prompt everyone to kind of think about how you're approaching dating now. Is it very stressful? Is it not fun? Am I approaching in a way that makes it less enjoyable? And how can I approach dating in a way to make it more enjoyable? And sometimes the way to do that is to be in, which is difficult. I'm not saying that this is easy, but sometimes the way to do that is to be in full trust and knowing that your story is going to unfold just the way it's meant to in the time that it is meant to. And if you're able to really lean into that, to ground into that, your experiences, your life, your, in between right now will be so much more enjoyable. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast, because you guys, and we're coming out with new merch with the tagline is the in between, because there's meaning kind of like these in between moments, in between the job we want, in between the relationship we want, in between, the time in between becoming a mother if we want that. There's so much that happens in the in between, and thinking about how do we feel in the in between. And I know for me, there are a lot of low moments in those in between phases of life. And even now I'm struggling, I'm kind of in this in between season, hoping for a second child. And it's been really difficult. I mean, it's fertility is so difficult, but I'm kind of speaking more to the emotional piece of the waiting, of not having control of the timing, of not understanding the timing, not loving the timing. But I know that when it comes, I'm going to look back and say this all made sense of how it happened. And if we can really believe in that now, it really does make the in-between moments way more enjoyable. And it's one of the biggest things I want to offer with this podcast, because for me, again, like there were a lot of low moments in the in-between seasons, and it doesn't have to be that way. Those in-between seasons can be so beautiful and so adventurous and so exploratory and so exciting. So yeah, so huge. So such big moments of growth, of understanding, of learning about ourselves, if we let them be, right? If we continue to focus on why I don't have this thing yet, it's really devastating. And thinking about continuing to shift out of that, and thinking about what do I have now? And I trust and I know I will have those things eventually, and using those in-between seasons to your benefit, to grow, explore, live, just to like totally live your life. So new merch coming out hopefully soon. We're going to do a flash sale, but I'm really loving kind of what we came up with the in between. I was having my makeup done, prepping for a recording, in-person recording in the city. And the makeup artist was just so wonderful. And she was like, the in between is the best. The in between is the most important. And I couldn't agree with her more. And I think if we can remove sort of the sadness and stress and anxiety around the in-between moments, it would be even that much more enjoyable. Okay, one of the last things that I wanted to talk about that's also been on my mind is loneliness. That's been coming up a lot sort of in my personal life. I guess I'll say with me included. I think the fertility journey, I don't know why I say I think, like I know. The fertility journey can be really isolating and really, really lonely, especially if your inner circle really doesn't get it, really doesn't understand it, have never had any fertility struggles. Even with all those amazing communities out there, it can still feel pretty isolating and pretty lonely. I'll also say, as someone that works from home, thank God for this new gym I joined, but there are moments there's not that much in person, right? Like everyone's available at our fingertips, but through technology, through a text, through a FaceTime. And it's just, for me, it's just not the same as really like sitting down with a friend, being face to face, sharing the same space, being in the same energy. I've unfortunately recently heard very, very sad stories of people taking their own lives because of loneliness. And I really think it's something to consider and think about, and even think about your friends that maybe don't have many opportunities to interact or get out, or maybe they're more introverted and they kind of need that extra push to be encouraged to meet up. But, I would think about like some of the times you maybe were feeling lonely or feeling down, and you had a dinner date with a friend and it just changed everything. And being in that space with them, and again, like same space, same energy, and what it just did for your mood. And I think it's really important to think about the people in our life that might be lonely, and to be reaching out to them, and to stay connected to your friends. Even if you are the person that's being lonely, that feels lonely, can you be a little bit more proactive about, again, it's kind of the same idea of being in the receiving. Like if you're feeling lonely, could you reach out to a friend and say, hey, I'd love to get together, or hey, I'm feeling, even being even more vulnerable and honest, like, hey, I'm feeling really lonely. I would love some time together. And I think we're all guilty of life kind of taking over, and we're so busy and our schedules are so full and there's so much to do and get done and we have to be productive that it doesn't feel like we have the time or space to grab that coffee or get that dinner. But I would really think about the value of that. I do that for myself. I'm kind of feeling like time slips away from me, and sometimes it's like, oh, I don't really have time to do that. I'm trying to slow down and like be in the moments with my people, and realizing that at the end of the day is the most valuable use of my time. Like the email will get done, the post will get done, the thing will get done. It's just like really being in the moment with the people you care about. And if you're feeling lonely, I encourage you to reach out, to schedule a coffee date, to schedule a dinner date, to schedule a workout class, to schedule a walk, something. I know it's still kind of freezing out here in New York, but I think we're coming to an end with that. But yeah, loneliness has been a thing that's really top of mind for me lately. And I think it goes into everything that we're talking about today, and sort of like lack of social connection, engagement. I mean, literally this conversation with this woman just like changed my day. I was just like, it was such a pleasure. Little things like that. And it's proven, there is a science to this, that these interactions create happiness. So I encourage all of you, just kind of get out there, get out in the real world and like engage with people, talk with people. If you're a little bit more shy or introverted, like maybe make a like mini goal for yourself. Like, I'm going to have an exchange with the person I'm ordering my coffee from, or I'm going to like compliment a stranger on their shoes or something. Sort of like, let's start like flexing those muscles again, and rebuilding those skill sets of socialization, flirtation, just engagement with other humans in real time. So I'm going to make this one short and sweet because I have to go to the dentist. I've avoided the dentist like a plague, but now I'm having some aches and pains in my teeth, so I have to go. But yeah, continue to, engage with us, reach out to us, whether it's DM or email. Let us know what you guys want to hear. Oh, so I had mentioned this earlier. So some of the upcoming guests that we have coming on are functional medicine, holistic medicine gurus. I have really learned a lot through my fertility journey about sort of the deficits of Western medicine and the benefits of more Eastern holistic functional medicine. And I want to share all of that with you because I think we deserve to have all of the knowledge, have all of the options to make the best decisions for our lives and for our health. So I really want to share more about that here and have you guys be able to hear from experts about, what that looks like. How is it different from Western medicine? How is it helpful for us? What should we know? And again, I guess this has been the journey of my life, and the purpose of the podcast is I'm learning so much of this stuff like in reaction to a loss, in reaction to a situation. So I am so excited to be sharing some of these episodes with you guys and having some of these guests on, because I have really loved sort of leaning into functional medicine. I am more of a believer in that now. And, it makes sense for me as someone that works from a person-centered perspective that everything is tailored to the person, right? Everybody's bodies are different. And I think functional medicine does a way better job at tailoring treatment to the person, really digging for root causes and what's going on in someone's bodies specifically, where sometimes I feel like Western medicine can be a little bit more prescriptive. So I'm really excited to be bringing those episodes to you. But also, again, if there's more episodes or topics you want us talking about on here, please let me know. And thank you. Thank you for 100 amazing episodes. And I can't wait to keep bringing you much more.
If you're someone struggling or relating to the topics that we're talking about now, and you're feeling the anxiety or the stress or the pressure of feeling like you're running out of time, you're behind, and you want some extra support, check out my group therapy practice in Midtown Manhattan, NYC Therapeutic Wellness. We have an amazing team of clinicians ready to support you in your journey, to help you feel more grounded, to help you feel more grateful, to help you feel like you're just exactly where you need to be. So check us out at www.nyctherapeuticwellness.com.
Hey guys, I'm Beth. Thank you so much for tuning in to Quiet the Clock. If you want to hear more episodes and learn more about how to dismantle societal timelines, live life on your own terms, live life fully and authentically, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and you can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Quiet the Clock Pod. You guys, I'm really excited. We just created all this amazing merch. And so if you're loving the podcast and you want to support our cause and continue to hear amazing episodes, please support us by buying some merch. I am living in these sweatshirts every day. We have a range of colors. We have hoodies, we have mugs, we have hats, we have journals. We have all of the things. And I love having them on because it's just a reminder to quiet the clock, to slow down, to like let life unfold and be happy. So there's meaning and purpose behind wearing it too, which is a nice reminder. So check out our website, quiettheclock.com, to get your merch.